Hello there. How are you? Hope you're all doing well and good. We are in the topic of human resource management, and you're back to watching the short videos on business studies. Today, we will be looking at redundancy and dismissal. Before we move on, I thought it would be good for us to do a bit of a recap of what HRM means. And although I may be repeating myself in all the videos, I think it would stick to you by now that HRM is the process of, ensuring an effective management of the workforce is done, right? Through this proper selection, hiring, right? Through training, through setting employment contracts, right? To ensure that the organization can become more productive and remain competitive. Okay, let's look at what redundancy and dismissal is, but in a broader picture, both these words mean one thing. There would be some impact to the employees or the workforce where people will be let go, right, or be losing their jobs. Similar to the picture that you see on the screen right now, it's quite a sad picture, but being made redundant or being dismissed from an employment would mean losing one's job as a general, explanation, right? Now, so throughout the course of an employee's employment, the employee may choose to decide to leave the company for greener pastures. And if they leave the company due to their own will, for example, looking for a better job out there, then they would have to resign or tender their resignation to the company. So this is a very mutual agreement where, the employee would say in his letter of resignation that he would have to leave, due to, reaching out to new career growth and progress, right? So it's a very positive kind of resignation, okay? But sometimes employers may also ask employees to leave the company, right? And this is the case where the employers themselves would ask the employee to leave, and the term used for this is termination, right? To be terminated from employment, right? And in terms of termination, there are various reasons for termination that the employers, may have for terminating an employee. And these are divided into two categories that we're going to talk about today: redundancy and dismissal. Okay, so here is where we will look at the differences between redundancy and dismissal by itself, what it really means. Yeah. So in terms of redundancy, it is a situation where the employer would reduce the headcount or the manpower, right, due to certain business conditions, right? For example, the economy is doing bad, inflation is high, the business is not performing, the sales are down, right? So these are basically reasons that has nothing to do with the employee directly, but because there is no more job left for the employee to do, therefore the employee is being let go or being made redundant. So bear in mind, redundancy is performed on employees not because of the fault of the particular employee, but because of situations that is beyond the business control. Okay, now that's on redundancy. Let's look at dismissal. All right, to be dismissed is to be let go. All right, so or basically being let go because of incompetency or breach of discipline. For example, an employee has been working with the company for a while, and the performance, all right, the of the employee has deteriorated. All right, in other words, it's not performing up to par. And if even after much training and coaching has been done on the employee, there is no progress in terms of performance, and therefore the employer has no choice but to dismiss the employee due to incompetency, right? And there are times where employees can also be let go directly or dismissed by the employer because of a breach of discipline. For example, being caught stealing or accepting bribe, right? These are forms of disciplinary action that will be taken by the employer almost immediately if employees were found to be breaching, the discipline of the organization in such a manner. Now, it's important to note though there are two types of dismissal: fair dismissal, which we're going to look right now. Fair dismissal refers to, a series of misconducts being done by the employee, all right, or poor performance, that's what we mentioned just now. It's considered to be fair because the employee has been given, the time and a space to actually improve themselves in terms of their performance, but still fail to do so. All right. And also in the case of stealing, especially when caught on camera, or accepting bribe, these are all serious crimes that will not be tolerated by companies. So in such cases, we consider this as fair dismissal. Now, there is another example, as you can see on the screen here, called stealing, accepting bribe. Another one is called unfair dismissal, okay, where employers let go of employees for reasons the law deems unfair. Okay, for example, an employer could unfairly dismiss employee when an employee is being, on her maternity leave, all right, where they have a 3 month or 2 months maternity leave where they're supposed to be paid and still be on leave because of, giving birth, yet the employer takes that opportunity to dismiss or to terminate the employee's employment without any notice or without any justification. So if a termination is done, or an employee is dismissed without reasons having to do with incompetency, or misconduct or breach of discipline, then it would be considered as unfair dismissal. All right, an employer can also dismiss an employee based on race or religion. All right, so these are all very sensitive issues, and if an employee is found to be dismissed for these reasons, then it will be called as unfair dismissal by the employer. And yes, the employee can and will be able to take this matter to the industrial court or the labor court to be, debated against and to fight for their rights. So basically, as you can see, redundancy and dismissal, one in black and the other one in red. The red one highlights basically being dismissed or being terminated due to factors that, could arise due to the employee's own faults, such as incompetency and breach of discipline. At the same time, could be dismissed by employers unfairly, all right, for reasons such as nothing to do with incompetency or breach of discipline, but rather sensitivity and prejudice, all right, particularly in terms of, terminating female employees when they are serving their, maternity leave, all right, or terminating an employment of a person because of a skin color, for that matter. These are all deemed by law as unfair, and employees would be able to basically bring this up to the labor court to deliberate further and demand for their rights. Now, there you go, a brief explanation on what redundancy and dismissal means. Now, let's move on. Okay, let's look at some of the questions that you should be able to answer at the end of this video. They are, what does it mean by redundancy? What does it mean by dismissal? And what are the possible reasons for dismissal? Now, bearing in mind, this video is a way to just refresh your memories on what you've learned in class, and it is to supplement what you already know, right? So you would need to supplement more materials to just watching videos, perhaps looking at your notes from school, and this would really help you to reiterate or to emphasize further your understanding from watching this video. Okay, so we have come to the end of our lesson for today on redundancy and dismissal. Hope you were able to pick up a thing or two, or able to understand a little bit of what redundancy and dismissal means. If you have questions, concerns that you would like to ask me, you can email teach@savage.com.my. Please bear in mind, I do not email notes across to students. Rather, I would appreciate if students who would like to know more could actually ask me. All right, and I will be able to help based on the specific questions that you have. All right, and if you're looking for something more, something more in-depth, right, then you could look at talking to me for an online class, for that matter, where I provide also one-to-one online learning to students who need help in certain areas. Thank you and have a great day ahead.